some people don't disrespect you with insults. They disrespect you with how little they truly see you. They talk over you, dismiss your feelings, make jokes where you're always the punchline. They roll their eyes when you speak, interrupt when you're serious, and then say you're too sensitive when you react. And here's the strange part. You feel the sting. You feel the burn in your chest. But you also feel stuck. You don't want to explode and become the crazy one. You don't want to shrink and become the weak one. You don't want to keep tolerating it. But you also don't know how to step out of the game without losing yourself. Carl Jung once said that we don't really meet people as they are. We meet them through our wounds, our complexes, our old stories. That means something uncomfortable. Very often, the people who disrespect you are unconsciously acting out a role that your psyche has seen before. The dismissive parent, the mocking sibling, the teacher who made you feel stupid, the ex who needed you small to feel big. And without noticing, you keep agreeing to the same script. In this video, we're not going to talk about being nice or just ignoring them in some shallow way. We're going to look at disrespect through a Jungian lens. Why certain people trigger you so deeply, why you freeze, over-explain, or implode, and how to respond in a way that protects your dignity without turning you into a cold, armored statue. You're going to learn how to use silence as a mirror, not as avoidance. Stop bleeding energy by constantly explaining yourself. Create distance in a way that heals you, not just punishes them. Hold your head high, not as a performance, but as an expression of yourself. This is not about winning against disrespectful people. This is about stopping the inner pattern that keeps you returning to them. Because in Jung's terms, every person who disrespects you is also a symbol, a mirror reflecting back how much of your own worth you're truly willing to inhabit. Let's go step by step. 1. Disrespect as a mirror of the unseen self. Jung believed that what we don't accept in ourselves doesn't disappear. It goes into the shadow. The shadow is the part of you that knows your real anger, knows your real strength, knows your real no, knows how tired you are of shrinking, but wasn't allowed to be expressed safely when you were younger. So what happens? You build a persona, the social mask. Nice, understanding, flexible, patient, the one who gets it, the one who never wants to be a problem. On the outside, your persona is smooth, harmless, acceptable. But deep inside, your shadow keeps a ledger. Every time someone talks over you, every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you swallow the comment, that burns in your throat. And then you meet someone who disrespects you, subtly or openly. They interrupt. They make that passive-aggressive joke. They question your decisions, as if your life were a public debate. On the surface, you see them as the problem. But Jung would ask, why did your psyche put you in front of this person? Not because you deserve disrespect. Not because you're weak. But because somewhere in you lives a version of yourself that believes, my feelings are negotiable. My time is negotiable. My dignity is negotiable. In this relationship, this colleague, this friend, this partner, is the stage where that old belief gets replayed. Here's the turning point. The moment you stop asking only, why are they like this with me? And you start asking, why am I still willing to stay where I am treated like this? You move from being acted on to being the one who acts. Disrespect then becomes not just an insult, but an invitation. A brutal invitation to meet your shadow, withdraw your old story, and decide who you are now. 2. The power of not reacting. Silence as a mirror. Let's talk about silence, but not as passivity. Most people think silence means, I'm weak. I'm scared. I'm letting them win. Jung would see it differently. He'd say, when you refuse to react on autopilot, you stop being a puppet of your complexes. Think about this. When someone disrespects you, what do they usually expect? A flare of emotion, defensiveness, a nervous laugh, an over-explanation, tears, drama. They want you to enter their psychic field, to dance to their rhythm. Because then, the focus leaves their behavior and shifts to your reaction. Now you're too emotional, too dramatic, too sensitive, too much. But when you respond with calm silence, not a checked-out freeze, but a grounded, conscious pause, the entire dynamic changes. Imagine this. Someone makes a sharp, disrespectful remark. They expect you to shrink or justify yourself. Instead, you just look at them. Steady, present, awake. You don't laugh. You don't rush to respond. You don't fill the space with explanations. You just let their words exist in the air, with your awareness on them. In that moment, silence becomes a mirror. They are now left alone, in the presence of their own behavior. That's exactly what most disrespectful people avoid. Self-confrontation, the discomfort of seeing themselves clearly. By not reacting, you're not being passive. You're refusing to co-create their unconscious drama. You're saying, I will not supply your ego with my pain, my confusion, or my self-betrayal. Jung wrote often about how we unconsciously feed the very patterns that hurt us by reacting from our wounds. Silence, in this sense, is not emptiness. It's a withdrawal of participation. You are withdrawing your energy from a pattern that no longer serves yourself. Is silence always the answer? No. But a conscious pause before you answer is almost always a good idea. It lets your nervous system breathe. It buys you time to choose a response that reflects who you want to be, not who you were trained to be. Sometimes the most Jungian move in a conflict is not a clever quote, but a clean, steady silence that says, I am here. I see what you're doing. I am not joining it. 3. Stop explaining yourself, reclaiming the persona. One of the most exhausting reactions to disrespect is the urge to explain yourself. Someone questions your decisions. Why did you choose that? Are you sure that's a good idea? Why aren't you doing what everyone else does? And suddenly, it feels like you're on trial. You start presenting your case like a lawyer defending a client, giving reasons, offering evidence, anticipating their objections, trying to make your life choices make sense to them. Underneath that, there is often a belief. If they understand me, they will finally respect me. But Jung would gently warn, the people who truly see you don't need long explanations to respect your path. Those who constantly make you justify yourself are often not seeking understanding. They're seeking control. They want your life to fit their worldview. Here's where Jung's idea of the persona becomes crucial. The persona is the mask you wear to function in society. It's not bad. We need some kind of persona. You can't walk into a work meeting as your raw, unfiltered, entire psyche. The problem is when your persona is built on pleasing, convincing, and begging to be seen as valid. When your persona becomes the agreeable one, the one who explains everything, the one who reassures everyone, you slowly lose access to your inner authority. Every time you over-explain a decision that came from your deep self, you send a message inward. My choices are questionable until somebody else approves. A Jungian approach to self-respect looks more like this. You listen to your inner voice, you make a choice aligned with it. If someone respectfully asks, you may share a little, but you do not hand them the power to approve or cancel your path. Sometimes the most powerful sentence is, I chose this because it feels right to me. Full stop. No PowerPoint. No long emotional essay. No apology in your tone. Just a calm statement from a person who knows they are the one living their life, not the other. When you stop explaining yourself to those who consistently disrespect you, you are not being arrogant. You are reclaiming your persona from the role of supplicant to the role of adult. You are saying, my life is not a group project. You don't need to sign off on my decisions for them to be valid. That shift, internally, is enormous. You begin to feel a quiet solidity. I can choose. I can decide. I don't need to be understood in order to be true. That's not rebellion. That's individuation. 4. Distance is medicine, not punishment. Now let's talk about something Jungians understand deeply, but most people avoid: distance. In an ideal world, every disrespectful person would sit down, do shadow work, read Jung, go to therapy, and come back to you awake and healed. In reality, many people are totally committed to staying asleep. In Jungian language, they are identified with their persona, or with a complex. The superior one, the always right one, the victim, the critical observer, who feels taller by cutting others down. If someone is deeply identified with a pattern like that, they might not be able to meet you in a different way. At least not now. And this is where distance stops being cruelty and becomes medicine. Creating distance can look like answering less frequently, not sharing personal details with them, not attending every gathering where they're present, declining invitations that you know will drain you. It doesn't need to be loud or dramatic. In fact, often the most powerful distance is quiet and consistent. From a Jungian perspective, distance does 3 things. It breaks the pattern. When you stop showing up to play the same role in someone's psyche, the old dynamic can no longer run. In the same way, it protects your inner work. Individuation, becoming who you truly are, requires energy. You can't invest in your growth if you're constantly leaking energy into defending yourself against subtle or explicit disrespect. It forces you to face your own fear of emptiness. Sometimes we cling to disrespectful people because we're terrified of the space that will appear when they're gone. That empty space is where yourself finally has room to speak. Here's the key. Distance is not about teaching them a lesson. Maybe they notice. Maybe they don't. Distance is about teaching yourself a lesson. I am allowed to remove myself from what diminishes me. You don't have to hate them. You don't have to diagnose them. You don't have to explain your distance in long paragraphs. A simple inner sentence is enough. I release the obligation to stay close to those who cannot treat me with respect. Then you act accordingly. 5. Holding your head high, posture of the self. We often underestimate how much the body is involved in self-respect. Jung saw the psyche as something that speaks, not only through thoughts, but also through dreams, symptoms, and sensations. Notice what happens in your body when someone disrespects you. Do your shoulders collapse a little? Does your gaze drop to the floor? Does your voice get softer, as if you're apologizing for existing? Those are not just random habits. They are postures of a story. I am smaller. I am less. I should occupy less space, so that others feel more comfortable. Now imagine the opposite. You keep your chest open. Your shoulders are back. Your head is level, not tilted down. Your gaze is relaxed but steady. You don't need to perform aggression. You don't need to puff yourself up artificially. You just inhabit your body, as if you have the right to be here. That physical posture sends a message inward. I am not collapsing to make room for your disrespect. It also sends a message outward. Whatever you project onto me will have to land somewhere else. I am not taking it in. This is not about pretending to be confident. It's about giving your body a new role in your psyche. From evidence of your smallness to expression of yourself. The more you practice showing up physically, as if you belong in the room, the more your inner world adjusts. You begin to think thoughts like, I can let that comment pass through me without absorbing it. Their tone does not define my worth. I can hold my head high, even when someone doesn't like me. From a Jungian view, this is a small but real step in moving away from identification with the wounded child toward identification with the inner adult, the one who can protect and care for that child inside. You're not ignoring the wound. You're saying, I am here now. I can stand for us. 6. Choosing who gets a seat in your inner world. Jung talked about the inner world as a kind of psychic house, filled with images, figures, and voices. When someone disrespects you repeatedly, they don't just live outside of you as an external person. They also start to live inside you as an internal voice. The mocking tone you hear when you try something new, the minimizing comment. When you feel proud of yourself, the who do you think you are? That echoes as you reach for more. Handling disrespect is not only about what you say to them, it's also about what you say to the voice of them that lives in your mind. You can't always control how someone behaves out there, but you can slowly, steadily change who you allow to sit at the table of your inner council. Ask yourself, why does my psyche give so much power to the opinions of people who don't truly respect me? Very often, it's because their voice matches an old inner critic that was already there. Their disrespect hooks into something pre-existing. The parent who was never satisfied, the teacher who humiliated you, the early friend who made loyalty conditional. From a Jungian perspective, the work is not just, I'll prove you wrong. The work is, I will no longer let your voice be the loudest one inside me. That means consciously naming the disrespect. When it happens, that was dismissive. That was belittling. That was not okay. reminding yourself, their view of me is not the final truth about me. Inviting other voices in. Kinder, wiser, more grounded. Maybe mentors, true friends, therapists, or even dream figures that show up as protectors. Over time, your inner table changes. The once dominant voice of "you're not enough" loses its throne. It might still whisper, but it no longer commands. And here's the paradox. The less power their voice has inside you, the less attractive they become outside. People who once seemed magnetic, fascinating, intense, suddenly look small. You see not the powerful critic, but a human being, acting out their own unresolved story. And at that point, the most Jungian revenge is no revenge at all. Just freedom. 7. When walking away is the most honest answer. We've talked about silence, about stopping over-explaining, about distance, about posture, about inner voices. Sometimes, after doing all of that, you realize something simple and painful. This person will not meet me in a respectful way. Not because you weren't clear, not because you didn't try, but because their current level of consciousness doesn't allow it. Jung said, "You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become." Choosing what you become includes choosing who you keep close. Leaving a disrespectful situation is not always dramatic. It can be quiet. You answer less, you don't initiate, you decline more often, you invest in other relationships, you invest in yourself. One day, you look up and realize that person who once made you feel so small no longer occupies your psychic sky. They're just a person, a part of your story, not the author of it. Walking away, in this sense, is not cowardice. It's a declaration. I am not staying in a story where I must disappear so that you can feel big. You can grieve what could have been, acknowledge what was real, and still choose to end your participation in a pattern that hurts you. That's not cold. That's mature love. Love that includes love for yourself. 8. Respect starts with the image you hold of yourself. In the end, a Jungian approach to disrespect always comes back to this. How do you see yourself? In the depths of your own soul? If, in your hidden places, you still see yourself as less than, lucky to be tolerated, someone who should be grateful for any crumbs of attention, then disrespect from others will feel familiar, almost logical. But as you do inner work, through reflection, journaling, therapy, dream analysis, honest conversations, a different image can emerge. Not the inflated ego, not "I'm better than everyone," but a simple, grounded sense of, I am a person. I have value. I have limits. I am allowed to exist without having to constantly prove my worth. From that place, silence is no longer a shutdown. It's a conscious choice. Not explaining yourself is no longer a defense. It's trust in your own path. Distance is no longer punishment. It's protection of your inner flame. Holding your head high is no longer a performance. It's your natural posture. When you stop apologizing for being, you will still meet disrespectful people. This world is full of unprocessed pain, acting itself out. But the more you grow into your own self, the less their behavior will define you. You'll see it. You'll name it. you'll respond or walk away. From a place of clarity, not from a place of old wounds. So if you're listening to this and thinking of certain faces, certain voices, certain rooms where you always feel small, I want to leave you with this. You are not obligated to stay where your soul is shrinking. You are not difficult for wanting respect. You are not cold for using silence as a boundary. You are not selfish for choosing distance from people who refuse to see you. You are simply someone who is slowly, bravely stepping out of the old story and into a new one. A story where your worth is not on trial. A story where your no is as sacred as your yes. A story where disrespect is not an explanation of who you are. It's a reflection of where someone else still is on their journey. Your work is not to fix them. Your work is to become so deeply rooted in your own self that disrespect can no longer convince you to abandon yourself. Hold your head high. Let silence serve you. Stop explaining your soul to those committed to misunderstanding it. Create distance where you must. And remember, every time you choose self-respect, you are not just protecting yourself from others, you are also rescuing yourself from the old version of you that believed you had to earn what was always yours. Your dignity, your voice, your place in this world.